expect my students to follow my instructions, so I changed my talk in order to follow the instructions of the moderator, and to talk about the Jewish world and the global economic crisis in the short term and in the long term. Actually, the distinction between the short term and the long term reminds me some of the Maslow hierarchy of needs when we are talking about the basic needs of survival, that's the physiological and the security, until we reach the self-fulfillment and self-actualization. That's what we can differ between the short term and the long term, and I think that the speaker before me reminds some of my point that I want to make here, but that's because I prefer to be the first presenter and not the fourth or the fifth, but I think it's just reinforcement what you said. Also, I heard I'm not sure he's right, but I think I heard it from a broker in the Wall Street. He said to me sometimes, and I don't agree with him, that money is not everything, is the only thing. But I don't believe that money is the only thing, but I think that the crisis now is about money and about resources. So, in the short term, to be very precise, I think there is undermining of the financial infrastructure of the Jewish institutions. Less money means the need to check ourselves and our activities and programs, making the right priorities, avoiding redundancies, looking for more collaboration and alliances, consolidating and merging organization structures, cutting organization fat, avoiding the redundancies, and improving the use and utilization of the human resources. In time of crisis, although as a paper that was also submitted to the Jewish philanthropy, some react to our paper, says that we see some light in the end of the tunnel, but I'm not sure about it. But in times of crisis, there is no choice but to be more efficient, to save and cut the butter or the so-called luxury activities in the short run until the storm is behind us. So the first thing that we have to deal with is about our physiological and security needs, and for that we have to trim in our fat, on our organization fat, and to avoid all the things that I mentioned before. And I just want to make another point is that some argue that this crisis, and I'm sure that this is economic and financial, but we have to add another aspect to this crisis. It to some kind, or to some extent, it's also a psychological crisis, and there is, under the term psychological crisis, people are looking actually to make their organization more efficient, and even claim those who get the money from them to be more efficient and to cut and to save and to be more efficient. And crisis, we have to remember in the end of this paragraph, is not only a risk, is also an opportunity. And for that we have to think in terms to be positive in terms of the crisis as an opportunity for the future. As to the long term, he said the moderator instructed us for one point, but this point is actually divided into 4 minor. So bear with me. And the first one, that what I am thinking about, is building and strengthening the next generation of philanthropists by investing more resources in Jewish identity, against the background of growth of contributions and donations to what, quote unquote, universal causes on behalf or instead for Jewish goals. More work has to be done with the young generation. Unfortunately, at least according to my data, less money is coming now to Israel, although most of the philanthropic money in Israel is imported. Israel is the biggest importer of money that comes from the States and abroad. About 67 to 70% of the Israeli philanthropy, or the Jewish Israeli philanthropy, is coming from abroad, but I have the feeling that less money is coming, and for that we have to work harder with the young generation, the next generation of philanthropists. Secondly, easing the negotiations with the governmental agencies and removing bureaucratic barriers in order to enable Jewish philanthropists to fulfill their dreams, goals, and goodwill to contribute to the Jewish people and the state of Israel. Too much bureaucracy and red tape is between the donors and contribution to the Israeli governmental agencies, which doesn't allow a smooth negotiation between the parties that are involved in the philanthropic activity. Thirdly, in my view, it should be a matching between Jewish and the Israeli society needs and the aspirations, motivations, and objectives of the philanthropists. More empathy is needed, sensitivity, and listening each other. However, that it's in itself is not enough. Empathy is nice, listening is enough, but it's not enough to create something new or to make the change or make the difference and to follow what our fathers began. Because of that, I think we need, and I think Carol mentioned it before me, we need some kind of strategic view and perspective. Building partnership is not an easy task, and patience and tolerance are needed in the long run, because we have no choice if we believe in the Jewish existence in Netzach Israel. Strategic partnership means the recognition of the mutual relation and reciprocity between those who live in this country and those who are living abroad, as we say, Israel Arevim Ze Laze. Thank you.